I'm riding the European Divide Trail from the trailhead up in frozen shores of northern Norway, through the vast wilderness of Finland and down to the deep forests around the Arctic Circle in Sweden. During the first 3 days on the EDT, I made it through the Norwegian section and almost the entire Finnish section, and I was just about to cross the border into Sweden. In this extra long episode, I'll take you along a whole day on the EDT, the ins and outs of my daily routines, all the way from packing down my tent in the morning to finding a campsite in the evening. During the day, I encounter wild animals along the road, both large and small. And of course, I do a little bit of a mosquito dance at the end as well. So will you be my riding partner for this 4th day along the EDT here in the Arctic? This place is swarming with mosquitoes. Woo! Good morning and welcome to day 4 on my tour here along the European Divide Trail. Just after I shut off the camera yesterday and got into the tent, the sky is basically open. So I realized I was quite lucky to find this lean-to shelter, or lavo as they call it here in Finland, because I stayed dry pretty much all throughout the night. However, this morning there is some sort of dampness, so the rainfall was kind of damp, so I'm just drying it off on the backside of this lean-to shelter now in the morning. For the first couple of nights I've had really bad sleep. I've had a leaking sleeping pad that has kept me up all throughout the night, so I've been basically putting in air every hour or every other hour or so. So it's been quite a task. So I decided to seek out the leaking hole, or holes as it turned out to be, yesterday, and I found 2 of them. So I've been duct taping them, and with a positive result, because this night I only had to get up once and put some more air into the mattress. When I come back home again, I'm gonna do a proper check on the whole sleeping pad and fix it properly, but duct tape will have to do for now. So this is a big day. We're gonna cross into Sweden after about 60 or 70 kilometers. It has been raining throughout the night, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the trail isn't that wet and slippery. But I'm guessing it's been sunny now for a couple of hours, so I hope most of it has dried up since then. So let's pack up the tent and hit the trail again. And we're off to a great start. We have clear blue skies and just perfect riding temperature. I think it's about like 18 degrees Celsius right now. I like it to stick this way all throughout the day. Okay, it seems like we have a bit of a problem up here, but I'm guessing this is only to fence off the different reindeer territories. I'm gonna see if I can get through this. However, the surface isn't as smooth as back on that gravel road, so I'm in for a bit of a bumpy ride here for the next maybe 10 or 15 kilometers. And just as I was packing up this morning, a guy drove by and saw my bike and tent and came over to talk to me. He was also an avid bikepacker, and he told me that this road coming up here was a bit bad, but he looked at my tires and thought I was gonna be okay. But he advised me to go back and take the paved road instead, but I kind of want to stick to the European Divide Trail as much as I can, so I get the real experience. But yeah, we'll have to see about this one. Well, as they say, it's all part of the adventure. The thing here in Scandinavia and Finland is that private roads are accessible to bikes. When they're fenced off like that with some sort of gate, it's only for cars. Bikes and pedestrians are always allowed to use these private roads. So you shouldn't let any barriers or gates turn you off if you were to approach them during your ride here on the European Divide Trail. Well, yesterday I told you about the benefit of going here in the early part of the season, like I started now in late May, early June, to avoid most of the mosquitoes. The bad part about this season is that the roads have just thawed up after the snow, so they've prepared the roads for heavier trucks and forestry machines and so on. So they put a lot of these very big gravel, almost pebble-like stones on top of the surface, as you can see here. At least on these smaller Forest Service roads. So it's quite slow going when you're cycling on these types of roads. If you go later on in the season, it's gonna be like pushed down by the vehicles that drive on the surface, and it's going to be much smoother. But now in the beginning of the season, it's pretty tedious and slow going. So we've come on to another road now. This one is almost as bad as the last one. There aren't that many pebbles on the road surface, but it's very uneven. And the worst thing, take a look at that climb over there. My God! So there's this Swedish guy that's out now and trying to set the fastest known time on the European Divide Trail, called André Jonsson. And I was following his journey. He started about 2 weeks before me, and when he was passing through this area, he had to push his bike through the snow. So it's only been like 2 weeks since the snow disappeared from these basically unmaintained roads. So I was quite lucky to be able to start when I did. Otherwise would have been pretty slow going, walking and pushing your bike through the snow in these woods here. The thing is, we've been having a real severe winter up here in the north part of Europe this year. I mean, back home in Skellefteå we had like at least a meter of snow for basically the whole winter, and spring was about 1 week long. So we went from having a meter of snow until we got 25 degrees warm weather in about a week. so everything melted away pretty quickly. We had a lot of problems with the flooding. That kept me pretty worried about this trip, because this is way further up north than I live. So I thought the spring was gonna be a couple of weeks late here as well, but it seems like it's dried up for the most part. And for the first couple of 2 or 3 days I was basically just riding on paved roads, so I guess that helped out a lot as well. I have about 1.5 kilometers left on this unpaved road, then I'm going on to a bigger paved road up ahead here. It's been quite slow going so far, but I think I'm gonna be able to make up some distance when I hit the paved road coming up here in a couple of minutes. Well, actually the road surface isn't that bad right now. I'd like to stay on more of these types of roads. Don't like the pebbles, but I don't really mind going on these roads either. So I just stopped here to have a short snack break at this lookout point slash trailhead. I'm just passing through what seems to be Finland's third largest national park, Pallas Yllästunturi. Since I left camp this morning, it's basically been hills all over the place. Yesterday was super flat, this day has been the total opposite. And I've also been dealing with a quite nasty head slash side wind, and after I get to the border, which is in about 20 kilometers, I'm gonna turn slightly to the south, which means I'm gonna head right into the wind, so it's gonna be probably even worse. But hopefully once I get to these smaller gravel roads, some of the wind will be taken out by the surrounding trees. So keeping my fingers crossed that the wind is gonna die down in the afternoon here. But I'm not complaining. I've had nice roads and scenic landscape around me, so now I just want to get to the border town Monio and have a bit of lunch. So far I've gone about 47 kilometers in 2.5 hours. And the temperature right now is at 22 degrees, so it's perfect riding temperature. And this is my new Garmin solar powered bike computer that I just bought, and I want to send a special thanks to all of my patrons who made this purchase possible. Big thanks to you. I've been really enjoying using the bike computer so far. And if you'd also like to be a patron of the channel and help me out and send me on journeys like the one I'm on right now, you can check out the link in the description below and find out how you can support the channel as well. So Finland is known for being super flat, but this day has proved the difference. And Finland is not a big alpine skiing destination, but however up here in Lapland they do have some ski resorts. Levi and Ylläs are probably the most well known. This one behind me called Ålos is also one of them, but this one isn't that big. It's basically the same height as the one we have right in the middle of town in Skellefteå where I live. So this is a pretty small one, if you ask me. So I'm just 7 kilometers away from the border town Monio now, and I'm really started looking forward to lunch here. So I have a big ascent coming up here, and hopefully I'm just gonna glide into town here. Take a look at this funny sign that I found at the side of the road here. So I just made a stop here at the supermarket and look what I bought. Since this was my last day here in Finland, I had to pick up some extra Finnish chocolate and Finnish licorice. That one is my favorite. For lunch I'm gonna have a taco salad, and I bought some cookies for the rest of the day to enjoy. A couple of bananas, a protein shake, plus a mineral water for lunch. So now I'm just gonna look for a picnic table to have my lunch, preferably down by the water. Plus I'm also gonna see if I can find a gas station to fill up my water bottles before I go over the bridge over to Sweden. So I've had my lunch. I found a table, but it wasn't exactly the most picturesque surroundings. It was just outside of the supermarket. But the next order of business was to find some water, and in a few of the K-markets that I've been to earlier, they've had a toilet or a sink to fill up your water bottles in, but they didn't have that this time. So I had to check the map and look for a gas station, and there were 3 of them, and the 2 first didn't have any water, but this one, the 3rd one, looked a little bit bigger, and they had a store inside with a nice toilet where I was able to fill up my water bottles again with some fresh cold water. Also noticed that there was another bikepacker parked just outside of this. Couldn't see him or her inside, but yes, him or her is doing the same kind of route that I'm doing, the European Divide Trail. So I'll probably meet them later on, or if they're going north, I don't know. So Finland sort of has the same system with the government-owned liquor stores as in Sweden. This one is called Alko. The Swedish one is called Systembolaget, and I'll show you that later on. In Finland you can buy beer and cider in supermarkets, but if you want hard liquor you have to go to one of these government-owned Alko stores. And these are just found in major towns, so this is the first one I've stumbled upon on this trip, and they're not open all the time either. That's the same thing in Sweden. It's kind of a limited opening hours. So they're basically open between 10 and 6 p.m. in the afternoon, and closed on Sundays, of course. That's where I should have eaten my lunch. Nice little town, this one, Monio. Well, now I'm only a couple of kilometers away from crossing the border into Sweden. So this is the last you'll see of Finland on this bikepacking trip. And my bags are pretty jam-packed with Finnish delicacies in the form of licorice and chocolate. That's what the Finns are known for. You should look out for the Finnish brand called Fatser. That's my favorite. We have them in Sweden as well, but a couple of different varieties of them here in Finland. So once in Finland, right? By the way, the bikepacker I saw back at the gas station, I saw him later on cycling through town, and it was a he, and I don't know which direction he was going in, so he might be able to catch me later on here. But since I'm stopping and filming all the time, so I'm quite slow going, but at the same time he seemed to be carrying along a crap ton of stuff, so I think my setup is a bit lighter than him, so should be faster. Well, let's aim for the Swedish border. Ruotsi, here we come. Ruotsi means Sweden in Finnish, and we're just about to turn, make a right turn up ahead here. Sign says Ruotsi, where the white car comes out from. So we're back in Sweden. Feels kind of strange to be back in Sweden after only a couple of days, but so it seems like I've joined up with the Sverigeleden. That's the Swedish trail translated directly into English. And that's a network of very calm and low traffic roads here in Sweden. And usually I prefer Sverigeleden over Eurovelo here in Sweden, because the Eurovelo is made up by some guy sitting down in France, and Sverigeleden is created by people that live around here, by cycling clubs and so on. So it's usually very nice roads with very little traffic. So I'm glad to stumble upon Sverigeleden here. And let's do an old classic. For those of you who've been here on this channel for a couple of years, you know about this one. It's the Swedish pronunciation quiz. And let's try together and pronounce this thing over here. That is the Norrskensvägen, or in English, the Northern Lights Road. Whew. I'm at 100 kilometers right now, and I plan to go on for about 40 more. That seems to be my daily average, 140. But there's rain in the air, and I'm just turning off right now to a gravel road. So I don't know how long I'm gonna be able to continue, and it's supposed to rain throughout the night. So I'm gonna select my campsite carefully. I stumbled upon this place, but it's too early in the evening to set up camp. Some sort of hut with a fireplace inside. I mean, I would have been able to just sleep on this, but at the same time, it says here, do not camp here, please. So I don't think they want any visitors around here. See what's in here. Oops. It's a woodshed. And this sign here says bad, and that means to take a swim in Swedish. So I'll go down this trail down to the beach and see what the beach looks like. Not that much to write home about, but and I'm guessing the water is pretty cold as well. I also have a picnic table here and some sort of shelter here. If I were to find one of these shelters again tonight, I'm definitely going for camping inside one of those, because the weather forecast says it's gonna rain all throughout the night. So my tent is probably gonna be a bit wet to say the least. So I'm gonna have my banana and protein shake here, overlooking the lake down below here. Like in my mind, I've been complaining for the last 2 hours about boring paved roads, and now I'm finally on a gravel road, but I can feel the drizzle in the air, and the weather forecast says it's gonna be raining real soon here, and these kind of roads can be a nightmare if rained upon. I can see the tire tracks like slipping all over the place. They're fine now because they're dry. The next little village is in about 19 kilometers, so I really want to make it to that town and don't want to get stuck on this and start riding on these kinds of roads tomorrow morning, because then it's gonna be a mud fest. So I'm gonna make a move on and get to the next little town or village as fast as I can here. And as I said, this is where the real adventure begins. And I can also see that people have been cycling on this track pretty recently. I can see fresh tire marks from bikes here and there, so I think it's nice that this trail is becoming more and more popular, and I hope to, by doing these videos, also showcasing it a bit more. I mean, don't get me wrong, these kind of trails are kind of the thing I've dreamt about when planning on going on this trip, but it's just lousy timing with the rain coming in. I mean, riding on these kind of roads when it's dry is no problem at all, but I don't want to see what they look like after a whole night of rain, so I'm pushing on here. Oh, I can see the rain just pouring down in front of me here, maybe 10 kilometers ahead, and exactly the direction I'm going in as well. Whoa. Better be careful there. Harkalompolo, that's where I'm going. Just sand all over the place here, but the road is super fun. It's hilly, like almost like a pump track, up and down all the time, and quick turns. Yeah, really enjoyable. Okay, now things got a little bit more interesting here. I think this is some sort of popular road for all-terrain vehicles, and also some sort of forest service roads, because there's a washboard thing going on here. I'm guessing they've been driving here with pretty heavy machinery, so it's a bit tricky to find the right line here, so I don't
have to go in all these washboards all the time. That's why I'm not looking straight at the camera all the time. I'm keeping my eyes on the surface here. Split vision, Mike. You gotta use split vision. Whoa. Not to complain, but the Garmin is saying that I have about 150-meter climb for the next 4 kilometers, and the sandy trail here is getting real soft due to the rain, so it's quite difficult right now. And I just had to endure my first hike-a-bike up a big hill here, and when I came up that hill I was met by a gate that I had to open and close, guessing for the reindeers. So everything takes more time than I would have wanted. Now it's raining quite a bit here, and I'm 10 kilometers away from the town, and when I started out it was 20 kilometers, so I've done about half, but the rain is just increasing now, so it's just gonna get more difficult here. Okay, I think it's rain jacket time now. Well, to quote Alanis Morissette, isn't it ironic? As soon as you put your rain jacket on, the rain kind of dies down. But I think I'm gonna keep it on for now. I'll just open it up. The problem with putting on the rain jacket is that you get so sweaty. We have an expression for that in Swedish called pest eller kolera. I don't know if there's any corresponding saying in English, but that kind of means the plague or the cholera. Either you get wet from the rain or you get wet from the sweat from inside of your jacket. I guess a quote from another 90s icon, Bart Simpson, is pretty fitting right now. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. However, I am though glad for having a proper GPS or a bike computer at this moment. All of my bikepacking trips before, I've just been navigating with my phone, and navigating with your phone when it rains is such a hassle. First have to pick it up of your pocket or your bag all the time, and when the screen gets wet it gets pretty useless. So I've been in those situations a lot before, when I'm just standing around holding up the phone so the screen doesn't get wet, and panic starts to set in. It's quite comforting to have the GPS track on the Garmin down here, and it just beeps and tell me to turn left or right, so I don't have one less problem anyway. As you can see, the track is getting quite soft here, and I was just passed by a car, and I wonder how that car is able to drive here. It wasn't a four-wheel drive or anything, just a regular car. And I'm glad I have these wide tires on the Kona here. My touring bike would definitely have problems going through this. Bringing this one along was a smart choice. Not another one. I'm finally at the top, and the rain has died down. I found myself just standing around here listening to all the birds. You can hear a cuckoo over there and a cuckoo over there. And life is great sometimes, right? I can hear a single car or anything, probably because there aren't any in the 10 kilometers at least in every direction. All I can hear is birds and the occasional mosquito. The mosquitoes has started coming now. I'm guessing it's due to the rain, so I better make a move on so they don't try to sample me. I think we have about 5 kilometers left to Parco Lompolo, the next little village here. I'm a bit afraid right now. I saw something running across the road up here, and it definitely wasn't a fox or anything, or a reindeer. Looked like perhaps a wolverine or a bear cub. I'm just gonna try to pass this pretty quickly, and I'll be quiet from now on. What was that animal? It's like dark brown, but it's spring, so the bears can't have cubs right now, can they? Must have been a wolverine or something. Oh, yeah, I'm past that area now anyway. I don't want to run into any of those animals right now. I think I have enough problems as it is. Just past the gate there, so must means that I'm approaching some sort of civilization up here. Yeah, I can see first red house now. Very typical of Sweden. We love our red houses with white corners. A classic Swedish sommarstuga or summer house. So I came to a sort of a crossroads here, and my Garmin is gonna act up on me now because I was actually supposed to turn right back there, but I turned left instead, because turning right would mean that I would go on a detour of about 50 kilometers or so, and I think most of those 50 kilometers would be on soft sandy roads like the one that I was just on. And I'm planning on camping here in a short while, and going on that road tomorrow would have been really miserable. So I'm making the smart choice of taking a little bit of a shortcut and skipping out on a part here. That part would have taken me to a town called Lainio, where they have this really cool bridge crossing with a ferry, with a manual ferry, but I'm gonna have to skip out on that ferry ride now. I think I'd rather go on these paved roads if it's gonna be raining like crazy, like it's gonna be tonight. So I'm going on this one and see if I can find some place to pitch my tent later on here. It looks like the weather is better in that direction, and that's exactly where I'm headed. And I also checked the weather forecast, and it looks like there's a rain cloud cover that is just above where I am right now. That's the weather app that I use when I'm on my bike tours here in Scandinavia. It's a Norwegian weather app called yr.no, and it's pretty great because you get a 180-minute timeline of where the clouds have been and where they're moving. So if it starts to rain, you pretty much know how long that rain is gonna last. And according to the weather app, we're right on the edge of the rain cloud cover. So if I go just 10 or 15 kilometers to the west, I should be out of the worst of the rain for couple of hours at least. So I think I'm gonna go in that direction, and if I see a nice place to pitch my tent, I'm gonna do so, but otherwise I'm gonna ride in that direction here. Okay, we got an animal spotting up here again. Don't know what it is this time. Might be a fox or something. Gonna be a bit careful. Yeah, definitely a fox. Foxes are often quite curious, so I'm betting this one is gonna sit here in the ditch and watch me go by. Let's see if we can spot him. Seemed like he wanted to hide away this time. And like I told you, it's quite nice weather in that direction compared to where I'm right now. Now it's starting to drizzle a bit again, so the rain is definitely coming. Rabbits are fun. Just sit there like nothing in the world is going on. Woohoo! What's great about the Arctic is that the sun is up all night. What's also bad about the sun being up all night is that you never get the sense of being done for the day. I'm well into my 9th hour of riding time, and it's about 9 p.m. now in the evening. And I should have stopped a long time ago, but as long as I feel fresh and the sun is out, your mind tells your body you can go on for a few more miles. It's okay. So I really have no plan. There's a river going sort of along this road about a kilometer away from here, and this road goes over that river in about 10 kilometers. So I'm gonna see if there's any nice place along the river there. Otherwise I'll go to the next town called Swando and see if I can find a place there to camp. They also have an ICA supermarket that opens at 9 a.m. tomorrow, so that'll be perfect for breakfast for tomorrow. So, but as I said, as it feels like right now, I can probably go on for a couple of more hours. But I guess at some point I have to stop. Well, the rain is back again, but I want to have about 4 kilometers until I'm at the bridge that crosses the Tone River. I'm looking for that as my end point of the day. I hope I can find some sort of place to set up camp there. The reason why I want to be near the river is that I only have about half a bottle left of drinking water, so I want to get some water from the river in order to make my dinner later on here. Well, of course, nothing goes to plan. The river was too inaccessible to go down and fetch some water, and they had some sort of an Ica here, but no water tap or anything outside, so I need to find some water now desperately. So I'll continue on to the next town called Junoswando. I'm not sure, I think it's about 15 kilometers or so from here. I think I solved my water situation. Now the trick is to just find a place to get down there and fetch some water. Score! Think I'll filter this when I get to camp though, because this place is swarming with mosquitoes. Woo! Okay, Mike, now it's time to stop being wishy-washy and find yourself a camp spot. It's only a couple of kilometers until I reach Junoswando, and I really want to camp before that so that I can visit the Ica tomorrow when it opens at 9, because the next supermarket is about 150 kilometers south of here, and that closes at like 5 p.m. so the Junoswando Ica is the only supermarket I'm gonna be able to pay a visit to tomorrow, so make sure to find a camp spot now. So I found this road leading into a lake here, and it looks promising. The only bad thing is that it's gonna be mosquito infested, but I'm just gonna jump into my tent and I'll eat inside of the tent, so I think I'll manage. I think this will have to do. I'll just clear off some of the pine cones here and pitch my tent. Don't laugh at me. Sometimes you have to take one for the team. I want to film while I set up my camp here and dance with the mosquitoes. See if I can get my rain pants on at least, so I won't be eaten to death. And it's starting to rain as well, so everything is going just as planned. Rain pants, where are you? Here. Oh, so I didn't bring any mosquito repellent on this trip. I didn't think that we're gonna be that many, and I've been pretty lucky so far. But I hate having mosquito repellent on me when I don't have access to a shower, so I'd rather just dress up. Whew. Okay, let's clear this. You always forget one or two, and then you wake up in the middle of the night feeling them sticking through your sleeping pad. That'll do, I guess. I don't really mind being bitten by the mosquitoes, but it's more that you get so freaking stressed from them. Just hearing the sound, and it feels like they're everywhere. The trick now when I have one of these tents is to do this quickly so that the inner don't get wet. But it's just a very light rain at the moment, so I've done this in France before in the pouring rain, and everything got into the tent, so this is no problem at all, this kind of rain. Finally inside of the tent, and I've also done a little supper here for the evening. It's almost 11 p.m. now, so I'm not gonna eat that much before I go to bed. Just getting into the tent is a bit tricky because every time you go in and out you bring along at least 20 mosquitoes, so you have to sit and chase them for a while. But luckily the mosquitoes that are now in the beginning of the season are pretty stupid, so they just dance around and don't really harm you once they're inside of the tent. They just want to get out again. Well, today turned out to be a pretty long day. I think the total was over 150 kilometers. But aside from the stretches like the one that I had today on the sandy trail back there with very steep climbs, it's been pretty smooth sailing. So I've been doing some big miles every day here. And I think it's nice when you kind of mix it up with both adventurous trails that lead you to places you never would have seen before, and also these stretches where you can make up some distance. That's great with this trail, that there are always options. You can either go on more adventurous gravel trails, or if it's like this evening rains, you can opt and go out onto the main road instead with paved roads. And like tonight, I think I was passed or met like 10 cars in the last 2 or 3 hours, so there are hardly any cars out on the roads here, so you're pretty fine whatever you do. I guess that's also part of the adventure, not knowing what tomorrow will bring. But I hope that I'll see you tomorrow, or for you next week, as the adventure here in northern Sweden continues. And if you can't wait for that video, you can check out my travels that I did with Ryan last year here in Sweden by clicking the link up here in the corner. Otherwise, until next time, have a good one.